Okay, so how many times have we heard about introverts and extroverts, right? Like it's almost a cliche in conversations about relationships.
It really is.
But how much do we actually get about making those differences actually work?
Right.
Today we're going deeper past those personality types and labels,
Yeah.
And we've got some practical tips here from this is kind of our jumping off point today. 5 tips for managing differences in social preferences.
Okay. I like it.
So picture this. You're in a relationship. One person's like, let's party all the time. The other one's like, I need my solo recharge.
Pretty common, I'd say.
Yeah,
Happens all the time.
right. And this is where these tips come in. The first one that really stood out to me, respecting each other's needs.
Yeah, foundational.
It sounds simple, right?
Right.
But honoring that need for alone time versus like needing people around. Why is it so huge in a relationship to get this right?
Well, it's deeper than just like, do you want to go out or do you want to stay in?
Yeah.
It goes deeper than that. It's how our brains work, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, an introvert's brain in a social situation, they're getting overstimulated
Totally.
a lot faster. Their brain's just processing it differently.
It's not a choice.
Right. It's not a choice. It's how you're wired.
It's like, it's physiology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you respect that, you're respecting who they are.
That's a really good point. It's like saying, I respect that you need glasses to see. It's not an insult. It's just, this is how your body works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all different.
Yeah.
And so finding ways to honor that.
Yeah.
Like some people, their sleep schedules are different.
Yes.
And it's like, how do you just respect that without judging?
And then that takes us to finding a balance. So it's not just, I see your needs. It's how do we actually make this work so we're both energized?
Right. And I always say it's a dance, not a dictatorship.
I love that.
There's not one right way to do it. It's about figuring it out together. Maybe it's recharge nights where you each do your own thing guilt-free. I know couples who do that. One night they go out, the next night they're home, but they're doing their own thing and they're both looking forward to both.
I think that's so smart because there's something I read, I think it was Esther Perel, the relationship expert. She talked about how being good apart is part of being good together.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
that independence makes a relationship stronger.
Yeah, it's huge. Which, speaking of, I think it's a perfect segue to our next tip, open communication.
Yeah.
Because you can't get to that balance. You can't get to that healthy independence if you're not talking about it.
And this is where it can be hard because sometimes you don't realize how important something is to you until it's an issue,
For sure.
I know I've been guilty of that.
We all have.
Yeah.
But that's why you got to talk about it before it blows up, not in the middle of it.
Right.
It's like, how do you create a space where it feels safe to talk about?
Yeah. How do you do that?
Like, hey, I read this thing about introverts and extroverts, and it got me thinking.
Oh, I love that. It's like an invitation, not a you're doing this wrong.
Exactly.
So we've got respecting needs, we've got finding a balance, talking it out, what's next.
Encouraging independence. And honestly, it ties into everything we just talked about.
It's true because that whole you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Like you got to take care of yourself to show up for someone else.
And that's where the whole guilt-free part's so important. It's easy to feel guilty if you're prioritizing yourself, like, oh, but we're in a relationship. But you both have to be fulfilled as people.
And wouldn't you want your partner to do the things they love, even if it means you're not together for a minute?
Exactly. It's trusting that you can have a great life together and apart.
Okay, so we're wrapping up here. What's the last bit of wisdom from the article?
It's reassurance.
Because, even when you get at the why behind someone's needs, trying to find that balance stepping outside your comfort zone, even if it's for love, it can be a lot.
It can be draining.
Yeah.
And that's where little things go a long way.
Yeah.
That appreciation, telling your partner, hey, thanks for being so understanding.
Yeah.
Acknowledging their efforts.
It's showing up even in those small moments, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hearing you, it doesn't have to be a conflict, these differences.
Yeah.
It's about, like we've been saying this whole time, understanding, talking, and then finding that rhythm.
Absolutely. And it makes you think.
Yeah.
Understanding your own needs better. Introvert, extrovert, whatever. How does that make not just your romantic relationships better, but all of them? Your friends, your family.
Oh, that's a good one to think about.
Right.
Because ultimately, it's all about connection.
Yeah.
And that starts with understanding yourself first.
100%.
So good.